Hi, once again, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Birds Weekly, powered by the Inside the Birds Network. I'm Derrick Gunn, along with my man, Ray Didinger. And Ray, we have reached the Eagles' bye week, and man, did they go out with a bang, 38-20 over the hated New York Giants. Ray, I don't like to use the word revenge because I think it's an overused word, but do you think this was payback for what the Giants did just a couple of weeks ago?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you could feel it. And you and I talked about it in run up to this game that, the Giants, the Giants are rubbed the Eagles' noses in it up in the Meadowlands. No doubt about it. They won the game handily. Good for them. But there was a lot of stuff that went on. Maybe a little over the top celebrating, some guys laughing on the sidelines. It was the kind of thing that I think if the Eagles were embarrassed and came away from it a little mad, maybe more than a little mad. And when you saw the interviews with the players this week leading up to the game, the one theme, and this went from Nick Sirianni all the way through the team, was physical. We want to be physical. We're going to come out. We're going to play physical. And you kind of want to do that every week anyway in the NFL. But there just seemed to be below the surface more of a message that, okay, you got the better of us last time, but this is going to be a different story coming into our place. And, I think the Eagles – look, they didn't – when they got that last possession, they knelt down. They knelt away the last 2 minutes. They didn't rub it in. But it was very clear that they came out right from the jump that they wanted to send a message and tell the Giants, we're still the big kid in town, and don't you forget it. And I think they got that one out loud and clear.
Dare I say this was their most complete game on both sides of the football this season? Would you agree or disagree?
No, totally agree.
Okay.
Totally agree. This was the first one that they just took control of it. I mean, literally from the second play and held it throughout the game for 4 quarters and really dominated the game, which, by all rights, if you look at the 2 rosters, they should, but they did. And they were, for the first time all year, they were able to come out and really run the ball, which that was their trademark last year. That was their identity last year. And they hadn't been able to find it through 6 games, but they were able to do it. They were able to do it this one. And it was really good to see that running game come back. And they established it right away. I mean, that play that they ran, the second play from scrimmage, where they have Fred Johnson on the field as a 6th lineman. So he's an eligible receiver, but he's really in there as a 6th blocker. And they ran that play where they pull the offside guard and tackle and bring him across, and they get the double team block at the point and get center downfield. It's a play that they ran all the time last year and was really kind of the play that broke a lot of those 60-yard runs for Saquon Barkley. And we hadn't seen it much this year because of some of the issues you had on your offensive line with injuries and so forth. But they came out with it right away, right in the first series in this game, broke the long touchdown run, and were in complete control after that. But it was definitely a flashback to last year. And if you're an Eagles fan, it was really good to see.
Before that 65-yard run, Saquon's longest run this season was 18 yards.
Right.
I believe that 65-yard run set the tone for the day because it appeared to take the wind out of the Giants' sail right from the jump.
Yeah, I think it did. Certainly defensively. I mean, the Giants, they understood. They got the message right away that the Eagles were going to come out and they were going to run the ball, and they were not going to be deterred. And they did. The Giants are a funny team, Derrick. I mean, if you look at their team, I mean, they certainly have issues in the secondary, and the Eagles took advantage of those. But you look at those guys up front, that defensive line, it's shocking to me that they've been as weak against the run as they have been all year. I mean, it wasn't just a Sunday thing. I mean, teams have been running on them all year. And you look at that defensive line, I mean, all high draft picks, all guys making a ton of money. I mean, that's really should be the strength of that defense. And it wasn't. It hasn't been all year, and it sure wasn't on Sunday. The Eagles owned them.
Eagles finished with 276 yards rushing. Saquon, $150 on 14 carries. What was common last year has been so difficult to achieve this year up until this Sunday. And maybe I'm being a bit premature, Ray, but they appear to have sat down diligently last week and looked at some of the things that they were doing wrong with the run blocking scheme, their zone blocking scheme, and finally figured it out. Now, it's only a one-game sample. Are you convinced a one-game sample is now going to be the standard, or when you consider some of the teams that they still have to face, it's a wait-and-see issue?
I hate to sound like a pessimist, but I'm kind of wait and see on this. And the thing is, you're not going to have to wait very long because you got this week off, and they can use the rest, no question. But when they come back, they got the first game back is they got to play Green Bay out in Lambeau, and Green Bay right now is number 2 in the league defending against the run. And then the following week they come home where they've been very good, but they're coming home to play a real good and hot Detroit Lion team. And Detroit Lions are number 5 in the NFL against the run. So if the Eagles have rediscovered their running game, we'll know. What you saw in this game against the Giants was pretty impressive, to be frank. But before I'm willing to say, all's well, they've got this thing figured out, and they're back to the same running machine they were last year. Let's see how they do against 2 defenses that play the run a whole heck of a lot better than the Giants do.
When you look at this 38-point blowout, I want to single out some of the key players on the offensive side of the football. And I want to start in the trenches with Brett Toth. I mean, here's a guy who had taken a lot of criticism, and rightfully so, missing blocks, unable to sustain blocks. But, man, against the Giants, Ray, not only was he the catalyst for the offensive movement up front, but getting to the second level and getting that extra block to spring the running game. We hadn't seen that from Brett in the time he had been in there, Brett from the time he had been in there this season.
No, he hadn't. And, to be frank, he had really struggled, you know, and I had legitimate questions about just is he up to the task, and he played. I give it to him. I mean, he played really good in this game. I was kind of wondering coming into it after we all got the word that Cam Jurgens was out. Okay, what are the Eagles going to do at center? I mean, they did have a couple different ways they could go. I mean, they could move Landon Dickerson over to play center. I mean, he played it at college, and put him at center, and then try and figure it out at left guard. Maybe it's Toth, maybe it's somebody else. But no, I mean, they came back and they gave Toth another shot at it. And you're right, he played really good. In fact, on that opening Barkley run that you and I were talking about, I mean, he had a really good block that helped open that hole on the left side that sent Barkley into the secondary, and then he was off to the races. So I thought he played. I thought he played really good. One of the things about this was after the game, Nick Sirianni talked a lot about what a team win this was. He used the term, this is a team win, over and over again. And sometimes coaches just say that, and sometimes it applies and sometimes it doesn't. But this time it really did. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, you had contributions all across the board. I mean, Jahan Dotson makes a great touchdown catch for you. Toth, you said, did a really good job in playing at center. Uchi came in and I thought played really good.
Yes.
Got some real pressure on the quarterback. There were a lot of guys that we hadn't talked about much up to this point. Hey, Tank Bigsby, for 100 yards. So there was a lot of contributions from a lot of guys who you don't normally think about or look to, but stepped up really big in this game.
You mentioned Jahan Dotson, one catch, but what a catch it was. 40-yard touchdown. He went up and mossed a defensive back. When you look at the better offenses in the National Football League, Ray, I'm talking about Kansas City, Green Bay, Detroit, the Rams. They spread the wealth around. I mean, they have their key figures, but they spread the wealth around. Shouldn't Jahan Dotson be figured more into the offensive flow? I mean, we know who the primary three are, in A.J. Brown and Devontae and Goddard. But, man, when you're talking about keeping a defense guessing and on its heels, shouldn't you incorporate a little bit more into your arsenal? In this case, Dotson?
Yeah, I've kind of been waiting to see that happen, to be honest. I think Dotson's is a good player. I mean, he's a first-round draft pick for a reason. But I think that, this offense and these coaches seem very committed to two tight ends. I mean, they really like the 12 personnel package. And they don't go with the three wide receiver look a lot. To be honest with you, I wish they would. I wish they would vary things a little bit. I mean, getting back to what Lane Johnson said after the game in New York, where he said, I think we're predictable. I think that's part of it. I mean, I would like to see them have a little more variety in the offense, and part of it being go more three wide more, spread the formation out a little bit more, open up some space for Barkley to maybe break a couple of those long runs and get Dotson on the field at the same time. Because, I mean, he demonstrated on that play that was a great catch, And I kind of wondered when it became obvious during the week that it was not likely that A.J. Brown was going to be able to play in this game. Okay, if he's really out and they know he's out, how are they going to redesign the offense to make up for his loss? Well, one obvious way is to go to Goddard in some big spots, which they did.
Another guy you mentioned, Tank Bigsby. I mean, here's a guy, let's face it, I'm going to be honest. He flat out stinks when it comes to kickoff returns. But he had 9 carries for 104 yards in this game. And Ray, obviously, we don't get to see a whole lot of him because of where he played before he got here. But, man, you talk about shifty, a power, able to move the chains. He had one run. I thought he was down 2 or 3 times. He kept the feet moving and picked up an additional 7-8 yards. I think, personally, he should be elevated to the number 2 back behind Saquon instead of Dillon or Shipley.
Yeah, I don't know how much folks actually saw him when he was in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
but he's a tough runner.
Yeah,
I mean, he breaks tackles. He's got good balance. He fights for the extra yard. And the run you're talking about, what was it, 2nd and 26 or something?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He
broke 2nd and 21, 31.
Carry. Now, admittedly, the Giants did a pretty poor job of tackling on that play, yeah. But you're right. I mean, there were 2 or 3 times when it looked like, okay, he's down now, and he fought through that and got another 5 or 6. So yeah, Bigsby played. This was his most extended playing time, and he certainly made the most of it. I mean, definitely, and that's good. I mean, if Barkley is going to be a big part of this offense anyway, and the offense, the running game is certainly going to revolve around him. But along the way, over the second half of this year, you're going to have to spell him in every game for a couple series anyway. And what you saw in Bigsby here, I think he's earned another shot at it. He doesn't look at all comfortable returning kicks. In fact, he was really poor at it. But it's obvious running with the ball from scrimmage, he can do that. And if I were the coaches here, I would find ways to try and get him up more of those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Skinny Batman, Devontae Smith. We're just so impressed with what he has emerged to be in the National Football League. But when you look at this guy, slight of build, I think he is technically sound of a receiver as anybody in the National Football League. His route running is impeccable. He doesn't drop many passes, and he takes a lot of hellacious hits. He is the ultimate weapon. I mean, you talk about a big package in a very rail-thin type body, but he is it. And, I mean, that one pass he caught when the ball was behind him, he was running full speed one way, and he reached back and caught it, didn't bobble it, snagged it like he had on, to stick him on his hands and kept moving. He just continues to impressed in terms of how he goes about his business.
He does. He does. And, anybody that saw him play at Alabama his final year when he won the Heisman, but even before that, you saw, I mean, that's a big time high level of football that they play in that conference, and week in and week out, and nobody could stop him. I mean, and every week you ran up against good defenses that were set to try and take him out of the game, or at least minimize what he could do. And he was always still getting open, and he always caught the ball. And I know there was a lot of concern when it came time for the draft and I heard scouts say it, God, he's small and he's skinny, and I don't know if he's going to be able to hold up in the NFL. I think a totally legitimate concern if you just looked at his body type. But we've seen it now that he is not afraid to catch the ball in traffic. He's not afraid to come across the middle, and he'll take a big hit and bounce right up. I mean, he's and the thing that you mentioned is what to me stands out is his route running. I mean, he is just so precise in running his routes at the right point, at the right depth, coming out of the break at exactly the right moment to find the football. I remember reading a story about him before the draft that said when he was at Alabama, that before every practice, he would do 100 push-ups. And then after every practice, when it was over, and with Nick Saban, they were not short practices, okay? But at the end of every practice, he would stay out and catch 100 balls from the jugs machine. That even in that program, his work ethic was in a class unto itself. And to me, I saw all the stats and I saw all the games and saw all the catches. But when I heard people talk about how hard this guy worked to improve and get better, that's when I said, yeah, this is the guy. If the Eagles could figure out a way to get this guy, I think they got something. And they did. And, on draft night, he was the guy the Giants wanted.
Yep.
I mean, he was the guy the Giants had targeted as he was going to be their first round pick. And the Eagles made the trade to jump ahead of the Giants and take him.
Yeah.
And boy, the Eagles' history with Heisman Trophy winners is not great. If you look at the history of all the Heisman Trophy winners they've had, most of them haven't done a whole heck of a lot here. But this kid has come in and he has been a major game changer.
Well, if you look at their history with receivers drafting him in the first round, it's not a stellar record when you think about it. But I look at Dallas Goedert. I think he had 3 catches for 28 yards, but 2 of those were for touchdowns. He has 7 touchdowns through 8 games. That's a career high for him. My biggest concern, Ray, every time he steps on the field is I keep my fingers crossed, hoping he can stay healthy. Right. That's the key. If he can stay healthy, my goodness, what an additional weapon, not just in the pass catching arena, but his run blocking as well, his pass blocking is so invaluable to the overall flow of this offense.
It is. And when you think about all the conversation in the offseason about, no, we're probably not going to bring Dallas Goedert back, probably not going to work out a new deal. He's hurt too much. And, last year he did miss, 4 or 5 games? I mean, he missed a significant amount of time. But, man, I would rather have him than not have him. And when he came back last year in that whole postseason run, he was their leading receiver. I mean, if you just look at the postseason, he caught more passes than either Smith or Brown, and big catches in big spots. That's been the way he's been throughout his career, and as a receiver. But the point that you made a moment ago is worth mentioning. I mean, he's made himself into a really good blocker.
Hey, I still like a good night out, but I'm not always in the mood to drink, and that's why I looked for a great alternative, and I found one. It's called Soul's Out of Office Gummies. You get the same light, happy buzz, but you don't have the hangover. There's no sugar, and you don't get that awkward feeling the next morning. They help me unwind and ease into my evening without the alcohol or the next day fog. Soul is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Soul specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products designed to boost your mood and help you unwind. Their best-selling out-of-office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, and enhance your creativity and relaxation. With 5 different strengths, you can tailor the dose to fit your vibe. From a gentle 1.5 milligram microdose to their newest 15 milligram gummy for a more elevated experience. They've also got a variety of products specifically designed to help you get a better night's rest, including Soul's top selling sleep gummy, a fan favorite for deep restorative sleep. So bring on the good vibes and treat yourself to Soul today. Right now, Soul is offering our audience 30% off your entire order. So go to getsoul.com and use the code BIRDS, BIRDS. That's getsoul.com, promo code BIRDS for 30% off.
When people talk about the tight ends in the NFL right now, they always talk about Kelsey for sure, and they talk about Kittle, and they talk about Bowers. So I understand all that. And they'll mention 5 or 6 guys who they consider to be the top tight ends. Goddard never gets mentioned, but I think he should. I mean, and finally, this year, I think he's finally, in terms of touchdowns at least, he's putting up the kinds of numbers where people are going to finally start saying, hey, you know what? He's pretty good too. And this was one of those games. Yeah, 3 catches doesn't sound like a really big game, but that was one of the better 3-catch games you're going to see.
You know what, Ray? I hate to say this because we've been talking about him all too much this season, and I really don't want to talk about him, but A.J. Brown missed the game because of a hamstring injury. And I believe, now again, it's a 1-game sample. I believe this offense flows better without him. Now, the Eagles have come out and said emphatically they're not trading him this season. Next offseason could be a different story, but they're not trading him this season because they legitimately have another shot to get back to the Super Bowl if they can keep all the key components healthy. Do you think this offense can perform at an elite level just by the wildest of imaginations if the Eagles decided to change their mind and trade him before the trade deadline?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I really don't. I think he's. I know there are a lot of things about him that, and a lot of it is the social media stuff. I mean, no question a lot of it there. That have you just sort of shaking your head, but there just aren't many receivers like him, Derek. I mean, that have that kind of size, that kind of strength, that kind of speed, that kind of ability. They're rare. And the Eagles, they traded for him for a reason. And you look at what he did, and certainly his first 2 years. He had a 1,400 catch season, 1,400 yard season, his first season here. I mean, that's the kind of ability he's got. So in my view, if your intention this year is really to go back to the Super Bowl and win that thing again, I think you got to keep him, And I know I've had a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say that there's a really good chance that they're going to move him by the deadline, and read all kinds of things into the fact that he didn't play on Sunday, which to me is, conspiracy theory to the 8th degree. I don't think it was anything to that.
Yeah.
I never really seriously considered the fact that they would trade him now, because I think they value him as a player too much. Could they survive without him? Survive, yeah. Make the playoffs, yeah, probably. I mean, I think they're going to win the division again. I think the way things are shaping up. But if the idea is to go back and win the Super Bowl, in my view, I think you have a better chance to do it with him than without him.
I agree 100%. The guy who gets him the ball, maybe not enough, but does get him the ball, Jalen Hurts, second straight game, impeccable game. He has 326 yards passing against a very good Vikings defense. Then he comes back and hits on 15 of 20 against the porous Giants defense, and he continuously beat the blitz once again. The Giants, they send an all-out blitz at him, and he finds Saquon out in the flats wide open for a touchdown. Obviously, the Giants blew the coverage on that play, but still, he found him in time for an important score at that time of the game. You know, I love using the word efficient when I think about it. You know, Jalen Hurts. People always question: is he elite or is he just good? That's beauty is it's in the eye of the beholder. It's what you're looking for. But obviously, he's exactly what the Eagles are looking for their particular offense. They don't need him to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game, although he has shown in the past if he has to, he can and do it very well. But the bottom line is he gets the ball where it needs to go. Sometimes he frustrates you by holding the ball a little bit too long, but he doesn't turn the ball over. The all-important factor in the end, he doesn't turn the ball over, Ray.
Right. I think it's 15 touchdown passes, 1 interception at this point, right? I mean, those are pretty good numbers. And, last week, the Vikings game, he put up the 158.3 perfect. He pitched the perfect game, as it were. This game didn't quite do that, but still really good. The way he runs the offense, he's just in complete control of it. You can just kind of tell that. Does he hold the ball too long? Sometimes, yeah, he does. A lot of it is just what's been drilled into his head about don't make mistakes, don't turn the ball over, protect the ball at all costs. I understand that. But for the most part, the ball's coming out on time, and it's going to the right guys, and it's right now you just kind of feel, and this game was the first game that you really kind of felt like the pieces really kind of came together on this one. Now, will it hurt them to take a week off? Will they lose an edge? I don't think so. I think the bye is actually coming at a real good time for them right now. And we'll see when they come out. As we said earlier, they're coming out with 2 really tough games, Green Bay on a Monday night, and then Detroit back here. But we'll see where they are. But certainly, if you looked at what you saw on Sunday, and look, I know the Giants are not a great team. The Giants are the Giants. But we saw what they did to them just 2 weeks earlier. And they came out and they looked like a totally different team here. And, last year, if you look back at it, everybody talks about the first 4 games and coming off the Tampa game. They were 2-2, went to the bye. And then when people talk about they came out of the bye and they were this different team and they ran away with the season. Well, not really. I mean, they came out with a different philosophy and ultimately they won the Super Bowl. But you think about it, they came out of there. They didn't play good against Cleveland.
No.
The people at the link were booing them for God's sake in that game. And a couple weeks down the road, they almost blew a game at home to Jacksonville. So they had their missteps in there. Now, by the time they got into the real home stretch, they had it humming, and we all saw that. But there was some sputtering, and there were some mistakes, and there was some ugly stuff in there. But they finally worked it out. And maybe that's kind of what we saw here. Maybe at 6-2, where they are right now, is maybe about where they were at 6-2 last year. They hadn't yet really settled in, but they were kind of getting to that point where we get a few more guys healthy. Now we're ready to take off. And if they are, well, okay, we'll find out soon enough because Green Bay and Detroit will be a big test.
Yes. Defensively, much better performance against Jackson Dart than that first time around. They got to him 5 times and put him on the ground. They didn't let him just slip and run the way he did that first game. And I thought, as you had mentioned, we talked about this before the taping, Jalen Hunt really stepped up. 4 tackles, 1 sack. But I think this is probably his best overall game this season.
Yeah, I think so too. I saw the official stat sheet. I think they had him down for nine pressures.
Jeez.
And he did have 1 sack, 1 solo sack, but he had 9 pressures as well, which was the most of anybody on the team. I thought this was his best game. Yeah, I had thought, to be honest, earlier in the season, I was kind of disappointed. I really was. After what I saw of him late last season when he got more of a chance to play, and even more so in the postseason, I thought this guy is he's a young player. I know that. Small school, I know that. But he was really showing me something. And I really kind of thought that when they lost a lot of guys off the defense in the offseason, that giving this kid more snaps and giving him more opportunities, that he would step in and he would be really good. And he had his moments, but overall, I was a little disappointed, to be honest. But this past game, I mean, he really showed up. And I think that Vic Fangio did a really good job with his guys in the preparation for this game, looking at the film of Dart and seeing just how elusive this kid is and how slippery he is getting out of the pocket and getting outside and making plays. And the Eagles didn't let him. The game up in New York, he was doing that all night long and making big plays. Mm-hmm. This game, the Eagles did a much better job of hemming him in. And times you could see him trying to get out, and they didn't let him out. So they were much better prepared for him this time than they were a couple of weeks ago.
If there was one blemish in this game, just in general, it was that injury to Cam Scatterbo. I mean, Zach Bond tackles him, and you see him on the ground. He's pointing at his ankle, and you see it on the camera. His ankle's turned sideways. And I was really proud of the Philadelphia fan base that stood up and gave this young man a standing ovation. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles fan base gets such a black eye nationally in terms of how they're perceived. But what a class act they were, applauding Cam and showing respect for him. I mean, the guy doesn't even have a complete half season in the National Football League, but he's all of a sudden become the talk around the league because of his style of play. And what the Philadelphia fan base did, I think really should have elevated their status in terms of being not just loyal, passionate football fans, but respectful fans of good talent going down.
Yeah, but you and I both know that won't happen.
Yeah, I know.
But what I was actually, if you hadn't brought it up, I was going to. Yeah. I thought the same thing. I thought that was a gesture of really great sportsmanship on the part of the Philadelphia fans. And because it was the New York and because the press box was full of New York media, yeah, I wondered if that would maybe change the perception a little bit. That doing that, having that kind of response, which was really classy, I thought, with the New York media, which is very hostile and always has been very hostile about Philadelphia fans, if that would maybe begin to change the thinking of some of those people. Now, I don't know if it will, but I certainly thought about it. And, you know, Scatterbo is he's a player you really like. I mean, he's a hard-nosed kid who plays really hard. And, you know, a lot of the scouts said, oh, he's not that big and he's not that fast, yada, yada, yada. But he has such tremendous desire. And you can see the difference that he has made on that Giants team this year. And listen, if he was playing for the Eagles, would this city love him? I mean, he would be so popular here. And I think you saw it that even wearing a Giants uniform, the people here respected the kind of competitor he was. Yeah. And so, you know, when I think about all the times that we in Philadelphia hear and were reminded by fans about, oh, you booed Deion Sanders when he got hurt here. You know, you booed Michael Irvin when he got hurt here. You were so mean, and those are largely bogus stories. But I mean, that's the rap that was hung around everybody's neck here for decades. I thought that this was an occasion where the Philadelphia fans showed what they really are, which is really classy, really knowledgeable, and respectful fans. And I was glad to see it. Now, how much that will go about changing the overall perception of Philadelphia fans, I would like to think it will. I don't know that it will, but I would like to think it will. And you know, I thought it was something that I was happy to see the fans respond the way they did. And today, we got the news that Big Dom delivered a pizza to the kid in the hospital. Right.
So, not just a pizza, but an Angelo's cheesesteak also.
So what more can you do to prove that we really are great sports fans? I was really happy to see that.
Hey, Philly fans, game day is stressful enough. Parking, traffic, long lines. We've all been there. But when it comes to your cannabis, Camden Apothecary makes it easy. This is the dispensary for sports fans, just minutes outside of Philly with plenty of free parking. You'll be in and out fast, no hassle, no waiting. And they don't just care about convenience. Camden Apothecary is all about the guest experience. Their staff makes sure you feel taken care of every time you walk in. Plus, they carry only the best quality cannabis at the fairest prices. So whether you're stocking up for the tailgate, the watch party, or celebrating a big win, you know you're getting the good stuff without overpaying. They even show love to the community with specials for fans, students, service members, and healthcare pros. Camden Apothecary, top quality cannabis, great prices, and an experience made for Philly fans 21 and up.
Can we talk about the officiating for just a moment?
Oh,
you talk about atrocious.
I'm so ready.
Atrocious, Ray. That was one of the worst officiated games I've seen in a long time. But it's been happening across the National Football League for the last several years now.
It has. Well, listen, you and I have had, Eagles have played 8 games. I think in at least 3 of them, maybe 4 of them, half of them, we've had this discussion about, we've said, this is one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. I think we've said it like 3 or 4 times just this year. And this one may have been the worst. And there are a lot of things about the way the league does business now that just make me shake my head. I wish the guys up on Park Avenue, and I'm going all the way up to the top, Roger Goodell, the commissioner, I wish they spent half as much time worrying about their game and the state of their game and the way their game is played and the way their game is officiated. I wish they spent half as much time worrying about that as they do playing football games in Madrid. I wish that they would just be the caretakers of their game, and make it as good a game as it can possibly be. Don't worry about selling T-shirts and hoodies in Munich. Look at your game and the state of your game, and look at your officiating. And all across the Eagles game was an atrocious example of it, but all across the league, the caliber of the officiating, and it doesn't seem like it's ever getting any better.
No.
Every year we all say they've got to do something about the officiating, and every year it comes back and it's the same thing all over again. And boy, if you want to just take one case study and just put it up on a screen, this would be a good game to start with, because the officiating was just brutal for both teams. It went both ways. But unfortunately it's not an isolated situation. You look across the league and you have this kind of officiating all the time.
I don't understand how they get as many calls wrong as they do. When you consider you have 25, 26 cameras on the field, you have so-called experts back in New York who go over this stuff and make the ruling and send it back down to the officials. And yet time after time, they still get certain calls. That Jackson Dart play should have been a fumble.
Right.
The Darius Slayton play should have been a touchdown when they called offensive pass interference. No, it's hand-to-hand combat. How many times have we seen wide receivers and cornerbacks or safeties are hand battling like that, and it's not called? It's either a catch or an incompletion. But all of a sudden in this particular game, so the Eagles got jobbed a couple of times. The Giants got jobbed a couple of times as well. And, we're glad the Eagles won the game, but if certain plays were called correctly, I wonder if it had been a little bit more competitive game. And of course, the Jalen Hurts, when he extended the ball, that should have still been a fumble. He was still moving forward. I believe it was Thibodeau who ripped the ball out of his hands. And they said momentum had stopped. No, it had not. It had not stopped. But yet they keep getting this stuff wrong time and time again. Now, obviously, looking at those plays a little bit more extensively might lengthen the game more. And I know football, like baseball has done, is trying to quicken the game in terms of how long a game lasts. But the bottom line for me, I don't care which side it is, get the calls right. You have every element at your disposal to get these calls right. There's no excuse for getting calls wrong like that.
And they still don't. You're exactly right. That was when they finally pushed instant replay through after years of trying. And Tex Schramm was the father of it. I mean, Tex Schramm was the guy that fought for it all the time. And I like Tex. I knew him, and we used to talk about instant replay all the time, and how it would, if you really get it in, it's going to change the game. And Tex said yes, for the better, because we'll be able to get the calls right. Well, it's been in all this time, and you're still getting the calls wrong. Mm-hmm. And the one play that you just mentioned there, the tush push play, was clearly a fumble. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was clearly a fumble. I mean, to me, it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, if you're an Eagles fan, yes, you got the benefit of the call right there. But down the road, if you look at the bigger picture, that's going to be one of the pieces of evidence they're going to bring to the competition committee at the end to get the tush push outlawed at the end of this year. Because their argument will be, last year they tried to go with it's an unsafe play, there are too many players get hurt. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't have the evidence to back that up. But their argument this year, and I think it's going to work, is going to be it's too hard to officiate. It's too hard to officiate. You got linemen are in motion. There's false starts that you can't see with everybody's all bunched up. Now you got to play here where which should have been a fumble, not a fumble. Well, who knows? That's going to be their argument, that it's too hard to play to officiate. And I honestly think that this time it'll win. This time they'll win it, and they'll get it thrown out. I don't think there's a chance in the world that tush push is going to survive another one of those votes. I think it's going to go out on the basis of this argument.
Yeah.
And the play on Sunday is going to be part of the evidence they're going to lay out there.
Well, the bottom line is this Eagles team heads to their bye week 6-2. Now they get time to mentally, physically, emotionally heal up and hopefully get some key components back for the stretch run, because what a stretch run it's going to be is, as you mentioned, coming out of the gate, going to Lambeau Field, Lions at home, and then having to go down to Dallas. Now, say what you want to say about Dallas. They can't stop anybody defensively, but they're undefeated at home, and they put up a lot of points at home, and they can't wait to get another shot at the Philadelphia Eagles. You still have 2 games coming up against Washington. You still have to play Buffalo as well. So it's no easy road to hoe for this particular team. Now, we talk about getting bodies healed up, but they will also get some additional help with our old friend Brandon Graham deciding to leave the rocking chair and getting back in the trenches. And boy, do they need some help at defensive end on the edge rushing aspect of it. Don't know how much Brandon can give them in terms of physical ability, but his value in that locker room, in mentoring players, keeping our locker room lighthearted, being a very playful, not disrespectful, very playful trash talker, is invaluable to what this team will need for the stretch run.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was, Merle Reese and I were having a discussion about this last week, and we both, like you, we really love the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's I've been covering this team for 50 years, literally. And I've seen a lot of guys come and go. But in terms of likability, in terms of just being a good dude, I mean, Brandon Graham is like right there at the top of the pyramid. I mean, He's that great a guy. And we all feel that way about him. And we were talking about his decision to come back. And Merle said, there's a part, I love having him back. He's great. Walk in the locker room, he's just a burst of energy and sunshine. True. But Merle said, there's a part of me that I just feel like he had the perfect exit. He came back, he played in the Super Bowl, he won the Super Bowl, and he had that great press conference, and he just kind of rode off into the sunset, which is what every player dreams of doing. And he did it. And Merle said, I kind of just wish he had stayed there. There's a part of me that just kind of wishes that he had taken that. And my feeling is, maybe he comes back this year and wins another one. And he can do the press conference. You use the script of the last press conference and use it again. It'll be just as good. But in just plain, get past the personality thing and just get into the plain X's and O's, they just need some bodies out there, on defense. And they need somebody that can just give them another 12 to, even if it's just 12 to 15 good snaps.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, nobody's saying he's got to come in and play 80% of the snaps. Nobody's going to ask him to. Nobody expects him to. But just maybe 15 good snaps, that can help. That can make a difference. In addition to all the stuff he brings you off the field, the leadership, which is a very real thing with this team, because you've got such a young defense. I mean, having another veteran guy over there really does help. But I think just the simple on the field gets another pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can help this team. I didn't have any reservations about it. And he said himself, he said, look, I wasn't really sure I wanted to leave. I really felt like I could still play. But to Merrill's point, it just seemed like the perfect exit. And the Eagles seemed to feel like they were pretty comfortable with the guys they had. So, okay, I'll go. But in his mind, he could still play. And you know what? After 15 years, if he wants to give it another shot, I'm fine with it.
I couldn't agree with you more. Well, I can't wait to see what happens with this team over the last 9 games. Should be exciting because there is a lot of balance in the NFC, and there's going to be a lot of teams jockeying for that number 1 seed down the stretch. That'll do it for this edition of Birds Weekly, presented by the Inside the Birds Network. For my colleague and friend Ray Didinger, I'm Derrick Gunn. We will talk to you next time.